And just like that, the bug is gone. Yanma has now been banned from Generation 3 ZeroUsed along with sleep moves. Recently, the council held a vote on APOM, Corsair, Yanma, and sleep moves and determined that both Yanma and sleep moves will be banned, and with APOM having a unanimous do not ban and Corsair being left open to a suspect test, which is now ongoing. It's actually old news, to be fair, as you can see from the date of the post. This happened on August 4th, so this was actually already in place in the time of my last video. I just hadn't realised because it was not on Pokemon Showdown yet. It wasn't implemented yet to make sure it didn't interfere with the first round of the ADV Gold Rush tournament going on. But now with the first round completed, the changes are implemented, ready for round 2, so people can practice with this new rule set. So, what changes with Yanma being banned? Well, everything really, but the most obvious change is in the lead metagame. While Yanma was still around, you were forced to either run a Compound Eyes Yanma with Hypnosis, where the Compound Eyes would boost Hypnosis to 78% accuracy, or you'd have to be a fast Pokemon which didn't lose to Yanma in one shot and could then one-shot it back, with the Lumberry being able to prevent you from being put to sleep by Hypnosis, so as long as you can get that kill back, then you're fine. But with that being removed now, and also sleep moves just being removed in general after Yanma demonstrated how powerful sleep was in this tier, there's a lot more you can do now. Well, I imagine this will centralise in time, as all metagame aims do. Give it another week of experimentation, people will figure out what's really great. There's a lot you can do in the lead slot currently. I'm personally very happy that lead choice band seeking is back on the menu. There really wasn't much that that set could do to Yanma. You had to run the Lumberry or run something faster, or just didn't work. But choice band seeking is back as a lead slot option. As usual, there's a lot of lead slot electric types with Voltorb, although I'm finding that a high percentage of them are using Rain Dance at the moment to allow for rain strategies with Seeking and sometimes Horsey as well. But yeah, there's a lot you can do commonly. Outside of this, I personally feel that the removal of Yanma makes playing defensive teams a lot easier. Those Pinchberry, the Lychee Berry, reversal sets really packed a lot of defensive teams with the Corsair and Wartortle and Tropius and Mighty Enema as well. Once you got that attack boost and having such a powerful fighting time move, just did an absolute number on those slower paced teams. And even if it wasn't really this set, having to figure out what set it was when it was throwing out really powerful Giga Drains and Psychics, which enabled it to defeat its real only checks in Coughing and those defensive rock types, just made those teams a nightmare to pivot. A nightmare to use in general. Also, the removal of Yanma means you don't feel obligated to run Rock Blast on your rock types, and you can just run Rock Slide or Hidden Power and Rock, as you no longer need that now to get through Yanma substitutes, which I'm very, very thankful for. I've immediately gone to my team builder and removed Rock Blast on any Pokemon I could that had that originally. So, outside of Yanma, let's take a look at the Pokemon which are affected by the sleep move ban. I want to start with Gloom here, as this is the most common sleep user I see on the ladder. Gloom would like being able to use Sleep Powder, as it was bulky enough to get one off against important targets, and on its offensive Chlorophyll Sunny Day set, it was able to cheat certain matchups with Sleep Powder. It's obviously a big loss for Gloom, and it will have an impact, but Gloom has enough other tools to still make it work. Instead of Sleep Powder, it's able to run Stun Spore, spread paralysis. It's got Moonlight for reliable recovery, and as always, has its still Stab Combination and access Hidden Power Fire. And on its offensive Sunny Day sets, I always liked swapping out Sleep Powder for Giga Drain anyway, but there's also obviously the option for Sludge Bomber as well. So Gloom is going to be absolutely fine. And for the other Chlorophyll Sunset, the other Chlorophyll Grass type that's around Weepinbell, again, losing Sleep Powder isn't going to be nice. It actually makes it more difficult for it to set up Sun in the first place, as Weepinbell is not as bulky as Gloom. But this allows it to run more of its offensive options. While Sludge Bomb and Gloom is kind of weak, at least compared to its massive solar beams and sun boost in Power Fires. Weepinbell really likes being able to use 3 covered moves, with Sludge Bomb coming off a massive 90 base attack. compared to the other offensive options of grass and fire. Weave is affected by it, but it's also going to be fine. Someone who's not going to be fine, on the other hand, is Butterfree, who, with compound its sleep powder goes up to 97.5% accuracy, which is enormous and is incredibly reliable. But with sleep powder gone, I don't see what this does in the tier. It's kind of outclassed by everything else. It gets Psychic, which is nice. Does it get Giga Drone? It does. So it's got that kind of coverage that Yanma had, but without the variability of its other sets. With base 45, you're not really going to be throwing in those extra signal means. You can if you want for a random Drowsy lying around somewhere, but it's really not going to be worth it too much. You can spread Stun Spore, which is nice with Compound Eyes, but I think this is just not really worth using it as much as it was before for a Pokemon that was already seeing very little usage, following Yanma's introduction. Noctowl is another Pokemon which is both commonly seen on the ladder and commonly used a sleep move in Hypnosis. While it is a very inaccurate Hypnosis, it's not being boosted by anything like Compound Eyes or anything of the sort. It's just a raw 60%. Because Noctowl is so specially bulky, with a really nice base 100 HP and 96 special defense, it gets a lot of chances to use its Hypnosis. So while the chance of a single Hypnosis hitting is relatively low, only 6%, because you're going to be using it so often, you get so many extra chances, you will be reliably putting things to sleep. Without this it'll probably be using a lot of the standard sets usually use it with Protect, Hidden Power Grass, and as its status of choice, it'll be able to use Toxic, which is really nice to be able to put things like Polygon on that timer. And then with this last slot, there's also the option for rest if you're comboing with a Hillbell Mightyena. You can throw in like Shadow Ball for Psychic types, or just return or double edge. Probably return over double edge for a nice stab option. But Noctowl's still going to be completely fine. It's still a great special defensive Pokemon, which is really disruptive and annoying to face. Another Pokemon which isn't going to be fine is Parasect, and this poor guy, its entire niche is using Spore, and without that, it's kind of just not really got anything. So, as with Butterfree, I think I've only ever seen this on the ladder once in the entire time I've been playing ZeroUsed. So you already weren't going to see it anyway, but with this, there's just not really anything left for it. There may be something you can do, but being so slow is really detriment. Even though its stats actually for you are quite nice, the fact that you're a Grass type, which is still weak to Bug, unlike Gloom, means you're not beating Seeking in the matchup, which is really unfortunate. You are just dying to a Megahorn. I don't know what the Ice Beam calc looks like, but the fact that Megahorn does so much too is really damning. So outside of the powders and hypnosises, one other sleep status, which sleep inducing move, which I've seen going around quite a bit, is Yawn on both Mightyena and Wartortle. More commonly on Mightyena, to be fair. If you're not running the Rest Sleep Talk variant with Hillbell and Crunch, non-resting Mightyena has quite a lot of variance in that final move slot. For example, if you're running a Crunch set, for example, you may run Crunch, Hillbell, Taunt / Toxic, and that final move slot is really open. So I've seen quite a few players using Yawn recently, which is actually really quite nice for forcing opponents into switch out. So while Yawn isn't actually ending up causing sleep very often because people are switching out immediately, so the sleep isn't being induced, it's still a banned move now, as the whole point of it is that it does cause sleep if you don't switch out. And this was really actually quite helpful in preventing the stalemates that Mightyena could often find itself in against opposing Mightyena or opposing bulky Pokemon, where neither were really doing enough damage to break through each other. But by forcing a Yawn, you force them to switch out, and then you're able to force some progress, which is quite nice. And while Wartortle wouldn't find itself in those standoffs quite as often because it doesn't get the recovery of rest sleep talk as much, as it's not commonly running that, it was still a nice tool for it to use. So that's everything which got axed. Let's take a look of what managed to avoid the jail cell this time. First off is Yanma, which, going back to the council vote, received no support whatsoever in teaming action, either in a suspect test or a quick ban. I personally really agree with this. APOM does a lot of damage with its really powerful stab, choice band, double edges. It's fighting in coverage, either with brick break or focus punch, allowing it to do really massive damage to these defensive rock types that are on pretty much every team. And it got the Shadow Ball as well for the once in a blue moon shopper that you do see. However, it's fast, but there is counterplay to it. There are really common Pokemon which are faster than it and do really incredible amounts of damage to it. There's Ponyta, which is really common. There's Abra, which is a really threatening offensive Pokemon running around. There's Priority, which you can't counterplay against with Quick Attack from Doduo. And this isn't the same metagame that APOM got banned from before. We have a lot more defensive pieces which are able to slow it down. We've got Intimidate from Mightyena with fairly reasonable HP and defense, and which are running HP and defense VVs at the same time. We've got Corsola as well, which is able to, it'll take a lot of damage from those fighting moves, but after it's taken moves such as Double Edge, it's able to actually recover it up, which is huge. And along with that, we've got some other bulkier Pokemon as well, which are able to serve as mid-ground plays, such as Tropius. This isn't the same metagame as before, which APOM terrorized. So I'm happy to see things stick around. One which didn't get off quite so lucky is Corsola. Corsola has proved itself to be the best defensive rock type in the tier, and according to what the council still said, and I probably agree with this, is that it's the best Pokemon in the metagame right now that Yanma's gone. It's got a really fantastic moveset, along with a really nice combination of Natural Cure and a 32 PP recover, which allows it to recover so reliably and last a really, really long time while getting rid of any toxics on it, any paralysis on it really nicely. And even if you don't want to be switching around constantly, that is still refresh, although I must admit I wouldn't recommend it. But it's the fact that it's a really great defensive Pokemon while also offering a lot offensively as well. In fact, it gets a Carmine Ice Beam Surf set. Even a Raw Surf is doing a decent amount of damage. It's got Hidden Power Grass for opposing Corsola along with Chinchu, and that's really a sign when you know a Pokemon is really powerful and centralizing in a metagame when it's running a move specifically to beat itself. Along with that, while it is rare, it does get Explosion as well, which I'd almost never recommend, but I have had a few games where I've lost my War Turtle when I'm running a Haze set to be Carmine. Well, I just lose it to a random Explosion. So the suspect test is up for that currently. It's up on the ladder, so you can open a new account with that. Your account name has to start with ZU Core for obviously ZeroUsed Corsola. So if you want to be able to vote on this, then make a new account for it with that in your username, and get as many recs as you can to be able to make a vote. This is a really fun tier, so I highly recommend doing it. I'm not sure what I actually think about this. I do worry a little bit about some other Pokemon in the event of Corsola being lost. But I do accept that Corsola is a really overbearing and really powerful Pokemon in its own right. I'm just unsure about whether it's healthier for the tier it stays, or whether it's healthier for the tier if it does go. Because once it does go, then we're back to rock types which can't stick around for a long time. We've got rock types which switch in once or twice, and maybe that is better if we're looking for a more offensive metagame. Corsola is really facilitating these more defensive teams that are running around. So I'm not sure where I lie yet, but we'll see how the vote goes anyway. But that's everything from this video. Thanks so much for watching.